Tervist kõigile! Mul on täna väga hea meel kõiki teid siin tervitada. Tean, et virtuaalselt on väga paljud liitunud. Täna räägime ja tutvustame siis uuringu tulemusi, kus me näeme, milline on tehisintellekti mõju Eesti majandusele. Ma mäletan aastat 2018, kus me hakkasime töötama esimese tehisintellekti strateegia kallal. Tollal oli üldse küsimusi, kas me peaksime valdkonda investeerima, ja mis on majanduslik mõju, sotsiaalsed riskid. Me oleme täna olukorras, kus mitte keegi ei kahtle, et tehisintellektil on meie kõigi igapäevaelu oluline mõju ettevõtlusel, samamoodi, kuidas me igapäevaselt asju ajame. Ühelt poolt räägime ja tutvustame tulemusi, teisalt, mida me Eesti riigis päriselt tehisintellekti vallas teeme. Esimesena annaks sõna majandus- ja infotehnoloogiaministrile Tiit Riisalole ja hiljem jätkame.
Ja, tere päevast, head pealelõunat, et olen ise ausalt öeldes erutatud, et väga suure huviga vaataks, mida need uuringu tulemused siis meile näitavad, et mul on siuke väike võimalus olnud siin eelnevalt nagu sisse vaadata ja väga põnev maailm rullub sealt lahti. Aga ma sain aru, et minu ülesanne on siduda see kuidagi konteksti, üritan seda hästi lühidalt teha. Et teadupärast on Majandus- ja Kommunikatsiooniministeeriumis olnud siin viimase poole aasta jooksul, mis on siis kulmineerunud siin selle esimese kvartali jooksul 2 niisugust suurt plaani valmis saada, et üks on see, mis puudutab meie personaalset riiki ja teine, mis puudutab seda, kuidas me võiksime oma majanduse arendamisele kaasa aidata. Ja praegu ma siin just seal laval astudes mõtlesin, et tegelikult on viimane aeg, kuna mõlemad asjad on nüüd läbi mõeldud ja läbi sõnastatud, need 2 presentatsiooni ka kokku integreerida, aga praegu on nad veel eraldi. Ja ma kasutan siis meelega seda personaalse riigi oma, sest reeglina läheb inimeste mõte, kui see termin nagu välja öelda, siis nendele teenustele, mis meil traditsiooniliselt Eestis on head olnud, eks ole, riigi teenused kodanikele. Et personaalse riigi mõte või selle kontseptsiooni kokkupanemine on algusest peale jagada see töö selgelt 2, et me ei unustaks seal juures ära ettevõtjate poolt. Ja kui me nagu sellele maailmale nagu otsa vaatame, siis tegelikult see niisugune lihtne tõdemus ongi, et meil on palju rohkem tööd teha selles sektoris personaalses riigis, mis puudutab ettevõtjaid, ettevõtjaks olemise lihtsust. Ja see ongi üks selle majandusplaani alustalasid, et Eestis peab olema lihtne olla ettevõtja. Ja siin on riigil ka 1,2 teha, et kahtlemata liberaalse turumajandusega demokraatlikus riigis ei lähe riik ettevõtteid juhtima, küll on aga meil võimalus luua see keskkond, et need ettevõtjad saaksid nagu areneda. Ja pisut siin kiiresti sellest mõtteviisist, et kuidas ta siis nagu konteksti asetub, et alati on natuke hea vaadata ajalukku tagasi, et meie jaoks on siin selgelt 3 etappi. Esimese tunnistajateks võib-olla osa meie vaatajatest ei saanudki olla, sest nad on nii palju noored, aga valdav enamus oli, et see periood 2000-st 2010-ndani, kui Eesti e-riiki hakati ehitama, kerge paralleel on praegusega, et keda huvitab, guugeldage, vaadake, mida kirjutati siis, kui ID-kaart kasutusele võeti. Ütleme, kriitikat oli päris tublisti, et 300 miljonit krooni me investeerime mingisuguse plastikutükki, eks ole, millel on kiip ka küljes, et kas see toob meie posti kätte või kas me saame õpetajatele paremat palka maksta, et nagu meil neid probleeme nagu ei olekski või oma riiki kaitsta sellega. Aga oli meil õnneks 3 asjaolu langesid kokku, et oli piisavalt tarku tehnolooge, oli piisavalt süvateadust ja oli poliitikuid, kes ei julgenud riski võtmata jätta või ei jätnud riski võtmata ja selle tagajärjel sündiski Eesti tegelikult digiriigi baasinfrastruktuuri ja arhitektuuri üks kõige olulisem komponent, singulaarne tugev identiteet, mis on meid nagu senimaani kandnud, pluss sinna juurde, eks ole, siis võimalus nagu andmeid vahetada. Ja et seda visiooni usuti, otsusti sinna investeerida, eks ole, siis töö läkski lahti ja see, kui rääkida nagu persoonadest, mis alati neid ajastuid on hästi lihtne iseloomustada, siis seal oligi see persona, keskne kuju oli see, see tehnoloog. See patsiga kutt või mõnikord ilma patsita, ma ei tea, Linnarviigil patsi ei olnud, eks ole, aga olid nii-öelda tehnoloog oli see, kes ütles, meil on sellised võimalused ja siis tehti otsus, et läheme seda teed. Siis me 10 aasta jooksul nägime, et pagan, see töötab päris hästi, eks ole, saame teha teenuseid, inimesed on rahul, tekkis järgmine büroo, et kui piltlikult öeldes enamus asju nagu ära digitaliseeriti, hakati päris häid teenuseid ulatuslikult nagu ehitama, seal oli see keskne persoon, ütleme siis töökas ja valgustatud riigiametnik, kes otsustas, et süsteem töötab, digitaliseerime nüüd kõik ära, eks ole, ja palun inimesed või ettevõtjad, siin on teile päris head nagu digiteenused. Meil mugav ehitada, teil hea kasutada. Ja nii ta ongi läinud ja see ongi see, mis on Eesti digiriigi nagu lugu edasi kandnud, eks ole, aga nüüd me oleme jõudnud siis sellesse nii-öelda uude etappi ja siin on pandud natuke futuristlikumad nimed sellele, et see on siis meie jaoks postdigitaalajastu, ja kes siin see tsentraalne keskne kuju on, eks ole, et ma arvan, et siin oluline ongi sooritada see nii-öelda põhiline mõtteviisi muutus. Et see keskne kuju peab sisuliselt olema tegelikult selle info või nii-öelda nende teenuste kasutaja. On see siis inimene või ettevõtja, eks ole, antud kontekstis. Et me päriselt hakkame mõtlema, võttes siis selle nii-öelda kodaniku tooli või ettevõtja tooli, eks ole, mitte mõeldes, et kuidas me nagu võimalikult efektiivselt riigiametnikena saame selle asja nagu ära tehtud. Ja me võtame seda väga tõsiselt, see kõlab küll võib-olla nagu suureliselt ja filosoofiliselt, eks ole, aga see mõtteviisi muutmise sisu on äärmiselt oluline. Ja tulles siis tänase ürituse konteksti, et jättes siin mõned slaidid vahele, et seda me ei räägi ainult suusoojaks, sest tegelikult, kuidas me seda Eesti nii-öelda digiriigi arengut või postdigitaalset riiki või personaalset riiki näeme, et ennekõike ta loomulikult baseerub andmetel, ja meil on siin tohutu konkurentsieelis endiselt olemas, kui me nagu õigeid samme teeme. Ja nende andmete pealt, andmed tuleb teha lihtsalt ja lihtsasti kättesaadavaks ja lihtsalt kasutatavaks, nii et see nähtav maapealne osa ongi selle siis uhke puu nagu see võra, mis on oluline, nii-öelda kasvab välja ühest tuvest, ühest tehnoloogilisest platvormidest, ühtsetest standarditest ja on 3 lihtsalt vaadet. On minu andmed, mis muutuvad järjest olulisemaks nii ettevõtja kui inimese jaoks, et me peame silmas seda, et inimestel tekib järjest nagu sisulisem arusaam, mis väärtus on andmetel, mis väärtus on andmeturbel, mida nende andmetega võib ja ei või ühe inimese andmetega teha. See puudutab nii riigisektorit kui ka, eks ole, suuri tehnoloogiaettevõtteid, kellega me koos seda üritust siin teeme. Ja siis edasi minu kohustused ja minu võimalused ja mida see postdigitaalne riik siis tegelikult võimaldab või kuhu me teel oleme selle, et me üritame siis selle nii-öelda tehnoloogia sealt tegelikult ära peita nii kaugele kui vähegi võimalik. Need seadmed on küll päris lahedad, minu omad on seal laua peal, eks ole, et me oleme isegi valmis olnud nende järgi nagu tundide kaupa või ööde kaupa järjekorras olema, kui nad välja tulevad. Või endiselt mäletame aegu, kui inimesed käisid lihtsalt Stenbocki majas vaatamas, mismoodi arvutitest riiki juhitakse, et ühtegi paberit nagu polnud laua peal. Tehnoloogial endal oli selline nagu ägeduse aspekt. Aga see, mis nüüd on toimunud tehnoloogilises arengus, eks ole, ennekõike andmemajanduse arengus, see, mis on toimunud tehisintellekti maailmas, see, mismoodi me suudame oma andmeid nagu liigutada turvaliselt, kasutades selleks pilve ja muid andmete säilitamise meetodeid, eks ole, see loob nagu täiesti uue võimaluse. Ja tulles nüüd tagasi selle 2000 alguse juurde, me oleme põhimõtteliselt samas olukorras. Meil on tegelikult olemas tehnoloogia selleks, et minna Eesti digiriigi arenguga täiesti uude arenguetappi, kui nii bürokraatlikult väljendada või ehitada siis sellest iteratsioon 2.0 ja selleks on vaja nii-öelda vaadet, kuidas me seda ehitame ja see vaade on siis sündmusteenuse, inimese või ettevõtja vajaduse keskne, silosid lõhkuv ja selleks, et neid silosid lõhkuda, et meil on senimaani ka päris head teenused. Autoregistrikeskus saab vabalt rahvastikuregistriga suhelda ja selle tagajärjel sünnib juba päris hea juhiloa vahetuse teenus. Paljudes kohtades maailmas on see senimaani ulme, ka tehnoloogiliselt arenenud riikides, vaikselt võtavad muidugi järgi. aga see uus nii-öelda tehnoloogia pool nagu tagab selle, et me tegelikult siis Riigi Infosüsteemi Amet sel aastal, lihtsalt tuues ühe näite, toob välja XD uue versiooni 8.0, mis siis point-to-point andmevahetusele lisaks võimaldab point-to-multipoint andmevahetust, mis tähendab tõepoolest, et need riigi andmekogude hoidjad saavad omavahel reaalajas turvaliselt suhtlema hakata, neid andmeid vahetama hakata. Ja nüüd, kui öelda, et me saame panna Töötukassa, Sotsiaalkindlustusameti, Tervisekassa ja võib-olla veel näiteks rahvastikuregistri, eks ole, veel midagi sinna juurde, et tehnoloogiliselt on need andmed nagu lihtsasti ühendatavad, pluss pannes siis sinna juurde nüüd võimekuse neid andmeid analüüsida, millest meil siin kohe juttu tuleb, ehk siis tehisintellekti, siis inimesed, kellel on natukene fantaasiat, nende pea plahvatab võimalustest. Et see on see tegelikult seis, kus me oleme ja loomulikult puudutab see siis ka ettevõtlussektorit, majandust laiemalt, et veel kord tuues ta tagasi nagu riigi konteksti, meie peame seda kõike arvukalt kasutama selleks, et ettevõtjatel oleks need tööriistad, need, mida riik saab pakkuda, tehisintellektil baseeruvad tööriistad, et Eestis oleks olla lihtne ettevõtja ja genereerida kõrge lisandväärtusega toodangut. Ja täiesti omaette suund on siis see, eks ole, et kuidas me saame kaasa aidata ja trügida ja nügida siis Eesti ettevõtteid rohkem tehisintellekti kasutamast. Vot selline plaan ja kui me, või mõtted ja kui me suudame sellise ühise harjutusena, et siin ei ole Majandus- ja Kommunikatsiooniministeerium üksi ei saa midagi teha, saab olla selliseks positiivseks nügijaks või eestvedajaks, et kui meil päriselt tekib see jõupingutute ühtsus või unity of efforts, siis majanduse kahekordistamine, juba neid numbreid vaadates, mida teile siin varsti näidatakse, on tegelikult isetäituv eesmärk. Loomulikult see kõik nii lihtne ei ole, see vajab toetavat õigusruumi ja kõike muud taolist, aga perspektiiv, reaalne perspektiiv on täiesti olemas. Aitäh!
Aitäh! I'm going to now switch to English. Next, I would like to invite Martin Thelle from Implementation Consulting Group. Something that I've been very excited for the last, I think, 3-4 months. When we talk about the impact of AI on the society, our minister just brought out kind of the expectations as well, then it will nevertheless affect everyone operating in Estonia. So over to the most important part, the results of the study. Martin.
Thank you very much. Is this on? Yep. So thank you, Minister. Thank you for the invitation to share our findings. I'm heading up the economics unit at Implement Consulting Group. So what you will get from me today is a brief summary of a much longer study that is available online, which is an economic study taking an approach that was initially developed by the Goldman Sachs investment bank in the US. They did a large piece of work last year and applied it to the global economy and to some of the bigger countries. What we have done is to essentially remake that same approach, and then taking the most detailed available data for Estonia, and then apply that similar approach to try to gauge the scale of the economic opportunity to the Estonian economy, and try to drill down on what are the different compositions of your workforce that could be impacted in different ways, and try to give you some guidance on which sectors and what types of occupations and what kind of transformations would this point to with a 10-year time horizon. And when you dive into it, I think there are a couple of things that unpacks itself in understanding what is special about this new cycle of technology from generative AI. And just for a start, and I'm sure you're very familiar with it, but there are some peculiar features of the technology that we need to keep in mind in understanding its impact. First off, the very early models that are now commercializing much faster than I think many people expected means that it's actually very easy to use. There are very limited data requirements because a lot of the models are pre-trained. So you don't necessarily need a huge data collection internally in the company. And many of the features are actually already available and free of charge or at a minimum fee available to use. So in contrast to previous waves of technology and to the past cycles of artificial intelligence, this offers unique opportunities in its ease of use and its accessibility. That means that companies can potentially accelerate the adoption probably faster than previous rounds of technology. And the second thing is that because of the rapid technological development, what generative AI does is that it moves forward the curve of what is possible to digitize, and where it opens up new parts of our work life that henceforth had not had tools that we could use to increase our productivity. So it moves forward the curve of possible efficiencies and value-creating adoption of technology with around 10 years. I think compared to a couple of years ago, the curve of what is possible, the frontier of what can be achieved, actually came to us faster than possible. And we are here now to understand how do we best grasp the opportunities and what are the transformations that might follow from that. And here are some curves directly from the Goldman study. And the expectation is that US will be first movers, and it'll be hard for any developed economy to catch up on the speed that they will be able to. But a range of front-runner economies, and we would put Estonia in that category, in other developed markets that are sort of in the second part of the way, so the number 2 curve from left to right. And we would assume, and we've done so in this study, that Estonia should be capable, because of your high level of digitalization and your infrastructure and the high level of skills in your workforce, you should be able to capture not the US curve, but then the second fastest curve on planet Earth, and not where we would put European, Central European and Eastern European countries, or less digitized economies. So we think the opportunities is especially big here in Estonia. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is that technology moves fast, but before it translates into real productivity impacts in the economy, that takes time. And if you look at that curve and you remember a bit of math, you would find out that the slope of the curve is actually the biggest here. So the impact on the economy will be biggest in around 10 years from now. It's hugely uncertain. Will it be 9.5 years? Will it be 11.5 years? But the assumption here is in around 10 years' time, we could see potentially the technology has its biggest impact on the economy. And I just show those 2 examples of past technologies, and if we think about it, they are actually still generating value to the society, at least the personal computer does. And what is interesting is that if you study what that piece of technology did, a key feature is that technology actually also increases demand for new skills. So study shows that around half of the demand for college-educated students could actually be attributed to the invention of the personal computer. In the same way as the new round of generative AI, it will help us automate things that we do today, but it will also create a demand that is virtually impossible to foresee what it is. Recently there is a profession called solar panel installation technicians. That profession wasn't there 5 years ago. Likewise, we're looking 5 years ahead, we will have titles and occupations that we cannot foresee. Just want to say that. Then here the main result of our estimates, and the study elaborates a lot on that. We estimate that the potential in that year where it might peak for the Estonian economy, taking the composition of your sectors and industries and your workforce, we estimate a possibility that generative AI as a technology in isolation could contribute to what would equate 8% of your current GDP. So what this means, and now I know we are in the Ministry of the Economy and Finance, so I allow myself to sort of position that into how I believe the Finance Ministry or Economic Ministries normally think about technology. And think about technologies that there will be some contribution over the next 10 years from technologies, and we assume, because we don't want to speculate about future technology, we assume that it'll be similar to the contribution from technologies in the past 10 years. I assume that's roughly what is built into the forecast of the ministry. If we compare that to this number, what it would mean is that this technology could potentially, if we believe in that way of assessing it, could be so powerful that it would actually mean that the contribution in around 2028, 2029, and for a couple of years thereafter, as the wave of technology accelerates, could actually mean that you should lift your GDP forecast for Estonia. It is that powerful. It's not just another technology that'll be like past technologies. This estimate tells us that it is most likely being more powerful than that in terms of its ability to create productivity growth, because it can unlock parts of your sectors that previously found it difficult to improve its productivity. So that means it can unlock new pockets of productivity gains that has been hard to address before. Breaking it down, I think this is a particularly interesting part of what the study does, because we drill down into very detailed occupations, and instead of just giving one number for the share of overall work that can be automated, we break it down into, and that follows what Goldman Sachs is doing. We break it down into professions, which are the most parts, which are professions where generative AI can help automate or make certain types of your work more efficient. But it's only a fraction of those occupations. So it's these kind of workers, including my own profession. And those constitute the most part of jobs in Estonia today. So a little over 60% of jobs are what we would call jobs that are likely to be augmented by the technology, where technology will help workers become more efficient. It'll free up a little bit of time, allowing humans to do valuable things with that time, while the computer is doing the tedious stuff that you spent time on before. But it's not fundamentally transforming your work life, because it's only a fraction of your work. And then there's a small part, which in Estonia is estimated around 5%, where more than half of the current tasks of those jobs could potentially be carried out by generative AI. But it is a smaller fraction of total jobs. And when we then add all of that together, that is what helps us make that estimate, and that helps you also to scope the size of the different transformation that needs to happen. Looking at sectors, and this comes back to what I said before, it can unlock productivity gains in the services sector that previously has been hard to unlock. So around 80% of the total gain is in services. So I think that's a very important point. So that was unpacking the potential, and I'll spend the last 4 minutes on trying to give some ideas on what would it then take to pursue that potential. And in doing that, we are comparing Estonia to what we have labeled as the digital frontrunners in Europe. So countries that are, in terms of digitalization, almost as good as the US in the past rounds of use of digital technology. And we want to know, how ready are these countries to capture the benefits of generative AI that I just described. So it's those 9 countries. when it comes to adoption of AI, not generative AI, but all of types of AI, and it's Eurostat numbers, and they're quite crude, but they indicate that Estonia is not really in the lead on that adoption. So that's point number one. Point number two, which kind of underpins what I just said, is new survey results asking business leaders, the share of businesses that believe that generative AI could help increase the productivity. It signals perhaps a less awareness about the opportunities than in some of the other front-runner countries. And when being asked, are you considering investing in AI in the next 5 years, Estonia is also on that indicator lagging a bit behind. So I'm raising a bit of flags that while and that's why we are saying that the assumed sort of peak around here, if you are 5 year delayed in that, it actually reduces the potential to your GDP quite substantially. So there's a big cost of not capturing the wave of this new technology. And then finally, we have used this so-called tortoise index to try to, double-click a bit on the underlying drivers. And I think the conclusions that come from that is a couple of things. First, on the general, so big applause to the government, because you come out of having a powerful strategies, and you have had strategies on AI for many years. And when looking at it from the outside, it looks like government is really pursuing this. And I understand there's a new strategy coming up. So a lot of kudos to the government for moving ahead on that. And the operating environment and infrastructure is pretty much where it needs to be. The challenging parts, and of course that part of being a small country, is on talent and on research and development and the more sort of long-term drivers of the opportunity, where you lag behind. But you have one big advantage, and that's your commercial startup scene when it comes to digital. It also appears strong when it comes to generative AI. So you are where you should be on these. You have a stronghold here in terms of the entrepreneurship and startup scene, but you need somehow to find a way to transform that into accelerating the uptake for small and medium-sized businesses and for more traditional businesses. And you have a huge advantage in your starting point in the public sector. That's how we would see it. So somehow the policy questions would be, how do you grow the R&D by the local innovators? How do you accelerate the commercial uptake? Maybe using the startup scene as a lever for that. And then, growing talent and attracting talent is a challenge for, all the front-runner countries, including for Estonia. So, those were sort of quick wrap-up of opportunities where Estonia is positioned, and a few ideas on what might guide the discussion going forward. That was it. Thank you.
Before we, does anyone have any questions?
Yes, thank you very much. So in your estimates, did you consider the impact of open source models? So to give you context, the problem right now in Estonia is that all the current generation generative large language models that are capable of doing anything in Estonian are commercial. So, and to give you a detailed example, for example, recently we developed a sort of AI automated solution for automating the work of a communication management department, and we had to build this on OpenAI APIs because that's basically the only option. But of course, it's challenging in terms of privacy and reliability and everything else. So it's a quick question: did you consider what the availability of open source models that can actually be put into production?
It's not explicitly addressed in the modeling, but I would assume that in order for a small country like Estonia to capture this wave, you need to use all kinds of the variety of different solutions. If that includes using open source, if it includes using off-the-shelves and a combination, the assumption that we make is that Estonia somehow should be capable of achieving an adoption curve that is just as fast as for Sweden or Finland. There's nothing really in your underlying indicators that talks against it. There's a bit of warning signs on some of the indicators that I show, but we don't see any sort of technological barriers that should hold Estonia back. I don't know if it answers your question.
Thank you. 2 questions. In some sense, your prediction on the GDP gains almost seem conservative. I assume they're really just about changes to existing companies and existing processes. So the question of sort of how global markets might get realigned, the benefits to export for first movers aren't captured by this. And the second question, if you look at the areas where we lag the other Nordics, so especially investment mindset of leaders, do you have any particular hypotheses on what's going on there? Is it just a money question? If we had the same amount of capital that Denmark has, we'd be in the same place, or is there some other underlying factor?
So, the first question first. Yes, I fully agree. Our estimate is probably on the conservative side. So, and we do make the assumption that what we capture here is actually only the, how can we do stuff that we do today better and more efficient, and how much time would free up, and then assuming we do more of the stuff we do today with that freed up time. I'm pretty sure that's an underestimate, and even in doing that, we are conservative wherever, and we follow the Goldman Sachs application such that we can align the Estonia number with the global number, which is 7%, and it's 8% here. So the structure of your economy actually tells us that you're actually a little bit better positioned to benefit from this technology. Then on the underlying reasons, I don't think I should be in a position to unpack that too much more. I wanted to share those surveys because they're fairly recent. They're actually they're done after the technology was commercialized. And speaking to business leaders only very recently about their plans. So it's probably a thing to note that, and to me it points at least to a lack of awareness of the opportunities rather than a lack of capital. So very much devoted to emphasizing the opportunities to make sure that any concerns around future barriers in terms of regulatory or legal concerns are cleared off, to make companies want to make sure that they put their money into it.
Thank you. I think there is a lot more to discuss and work on. So next I'm going to present what we are doing regarding AI. I see that the title is in blue as well. I'm switching over to Estonian. Kui me mõtleme selle peale, mis just räägiti, potentsiaal, mis puudutab generatiivset AI-d, siis tegelikult, kui me räägime tehisintellektist laiemalt, siis majanduslik potentsiaal on väga suur. Ühelt poolt räägime sellest, et meil on Eestis nii-öelda hetkebaas, mille pinnalt edasi liikuda on hea. Euroopas andmemajanduse vaatest suurim osakaal, tehiindeks, avaandmete kättesaadavus, samamoodi laiapindselt nii-öelda open data parameetri vaatest, nii kompetentside, struktuur, strateegia, justkui kõik on olemas. Samas, nagu ka Martin tõi välja, siis meil on täna väga suuri väljakutseid. Kui me vaatame näiteks kompetentside pilti, siis täna viimane seis on pea 13 000 kompetentsidega inimest on riigis puudu, mis puudutab nii andmete kui tehisintellekti vaadet. Küsimus on, mida me selles olukorras tegelikult saame teha, peame tegema. Kui ei ole inimesi, ei saa tegelikult lõpuks seda tulemust saavutada. täna valdkonna tase, mis puudutab andmehaldust, on kahjuks nii avalikus kui ka erasektoris jätkuvalt reaktiivne. Andmekvaliteediga süsteemselt ei tegeleta, andmete taaskasutuse peale ei mõelda. Ehk jällegi vajab oluliselt tugevamat fookust. Või samamoodi, kui siin läbi käis ettevõtete tehisintellekti rakendamine, siis teisi enda hinnangu põhjal, mis põhineb ka siis Eurostatil ja mujal, rakendab meil täna tehisintellekti 4%, suurandmeid circa 10% ettevõtetest. Ehk kui meil erasektoris on tehisintellekti rakendamine pigem tagasihoidlik, siis avalikus sektoris räägime kogu aeg, rakendame, teeme. Et ühesõnaga, me peame seda sama õpitud, mis me avalikus sektoris teinud, rakendama ka erasektoris ja mõtlema, kuidas siis ettevõtteid toetada selles. Sest see ei ole läbivalt probleemne. Võtame näiteks pilveteenuste kasutamine, siis erasektor Eestis on üle Euroopa keskmise. Ehk ei ole tehnoloogias küsimus, pigem on teadlikkuses. Ja lõppkokkuvõttes, kui me vaatame näiteks teenustele ligipääsetavust või miks ekspordiga ei tegeleta, näiteks 75% ettevõttest Euroopa Komisjoni poolt läbi viidud uuringust tõid välja keelebarjäär sihtturgudel ja mis on lahendus tegelikult jällegi keeletehnoloogia, millest Martin varsti räägib. Et meil on olemas lahendusi, aga me ei oska neid rakendada ja kasutada. Ja teisaks väga oluline teema on kogu inimkessus, usaldusväärsus. Et kui me räägime tehisintellektist, siis kuidas me tagame läbipaistvuse andmetöötlusest, kuidas me võimestame inimest, kuidas me tagame selle, et mida me teeme, on päriselt aktsepteeritav ja anda inimesele ka otsustusõigus, millal tehisintellekti võib rakendada, millal mitte. Ja viimaks avaliku sektori vaatest, et kui me vaatame näiteks riigiasutustes, kui paljud on süsteemselt mõelnud valdkonna pikaaegsete eesmärkide peale, mida lähiaastatel teha, siis kahjuks kolmandikus on pikaaegsed eesmärgid, vähem kui pooled mõtlevad tegelikult lähiaastate vaatest, mida tuleb teha. Aga samal ajal täna seda pilti võib oluliselt juba uuendada, et kui me vaatame andmemajanduse osakaalu eesmärki, mis me oleme näinud, et tõesti päriselt potentsiaal tõsta, kasvatada SKP-d 5% aastaks 2030, ma arvan, et tänaste prognooside pinnalt see on isegi tagasihoidlik. Me peaksime selle oluliselt kõrgemale seadma. Aga ühelt poolt andmemajanduse osakaalu kasvatamine, samamoodi inimeste kompetentside kasvatamine laialt ühiskonnas, mitte ainult avalikus sektoris, erasektoris, ja see nõuab väga süsteemset lähenemist alates algkoolidest kuni elukestva õppeni. Räägime elementaalsest andmekirjaoskusest. Ehk kõigil inimestel teadmised olemas, mis muudatusi toob kaasa tehisintellekt, mis on inimeste õigused, samamoodi ka võimalused andmete kasutamiseks. Ja läbi selle kokkuvõttes loodetavasti siis tekib omakorda mõju nii avaandmete vaatest, andmete esitamise koormust suudame vähendada ja nii edasi. Kuidas me valdkonna vaates, mis meil tänane nägemus on? Aastaks 2030 valge raamat näeb ette, et kujundada Eestis siis läbi andmete väärindamise ja targa kasutamise juhtiva andmemajandusega riik maailmas. Ja tehisintellektiga tegeleks siis suuresti kreatiivne riik ja ühiskond ning tegevuskavana siis on plaanis meil kinnitada 2-aastane tegevuskava, millest ma kohe räägin natukene lähemalt. Aga ennem seda, mis on tänane siis tehisintellekti süva sissevaade ka, et meil täna tegelikult tehisintellekti projekt avalikus sektoris juba enam kui 132, erasektorist mainisin, samamoodi suured keelemudelid, kogu generatiivne AI, täna sisuliselt ei ole ühtegi arutelu asutustega, kus ei tuleks ülesse generatiivne AI. Kõik mõtlevad selle peale, aga ärme unusta kogu muud valdkonda ka, mis tehisintellektiga kaasas käib. Ärme fokusseeri ainult generatiivsel AI-l, see on üks osa tegelikult andmeteadusest ja masinate võimalustest. Ja samamoodi on täna kasvavalt, mõeldakse nii asutustes rakendamise peale, on olemas keskseid komponente, mida nii era- kui avalik sektor rakendavad ja kasutavad. Tegevuskavast endast meil on 6 olulist fookusvaldkonda, avalikus sektoris, erasektoris rakendamine, keeletehnoloogia, kompetentsid, TA ja siis infrastruktuur või kõrgjõudlusega andmetöötlus. Ja kui me vaatame lähiaastate prioriteetsemaid tegevusi, siis ühelt poolt me peame kasvatama laiemalt ühiskonnas kompetentse, teadlikkust, alates õpetajatest, spetsialistideni välja. Samamoodi kõigis avaliku sektori organisatsioonides siis AI rakendamise transformatsiooniplaanid, mõelda süsteemselt läbi, kas see, kuidas me täna toimetame, on mõistlik, mis tegevusi me saame asendada uutega. Selleks, et pakkuda nii ettevõtetele kui avaliku sektori asutustele tuge, me peame liikuma jõulisemalt edasi tehisintellekti kompetentsikeskuse loomisega, ehk päriselt pakkuda praktilist tuge. Täna on näha, teadmisi on vähe, inimesi on veel raskem leida, kui me mõtleme selle numbri peale 12 000, 13 000 spetsialisti täna puudu, siis see ei ole realistlik, et kõigil on ressursile ligipääs. Ja samamoodi mõeldage selle peale, et kuidas me siis nii era- kui avalikku sektorit toetame tehisintellekti rakendamisel. See ei ole ameti küsimus ainult nii-öelda finantsmeetmetes, aga ka mitte finantsmeetmetest. Kuidas me võimaldame tehnoloogia siiret? Kuidas me aitame läbi mõelda, kus oleks võimalik näiteks äriplaani vaatest mõistlik rakendada tehisintellekti, valideerida, piloteerida ja nii edasi. Ja lõppkokkuvõttes, mis Martin kindlasti räägib, taaskasutus ja keeletehnoloogia. Me oleme lähiaastate eesmärgiks seadnud, et loome kvaliteetse keelekorpuse, kus on vähemalt 15 miljardit sõna. Suur ambitsioon, aga samas, kui me tahame, et tulevikus ka erasektori poolt loodud näiteks generatiivse AI lahendused oskaksid hästi, tunneksid Eesti kultuuri, arvestaksid sellega, siis me peame panustama sinna. Ja samal ajal on vajalik, et asutustes tervikuna mõeldakse ka andmekorralduse peale. Alates kultuurist, oskustest, mis on põhimõtted, millistel eesmärkidel andmeid hallatakse, andmekvaliteediga süsteemselt tegeletaks. Ja teisalt, nagu ka meil minister mainis, õigusandlus, kesksed põhimõtted, juhised, miks me rakendame, võrgustik, koostoime ja nii edasi. Natukene ohtudes ka, et kui me räägime siin inimkestsest nii-öelda tehisintellektist, siis valimatult ei saa ka tehnoloogiat rakendada. Me peame arvestama potentsiaalsete riskidega, kellelgi ei tule ilmselt uudisena erinevad muffine näod, kus chihuahuadega aetakse sassi. Töökindlus, ohutus, läbipaistvus, inimese võimestamine, inimese otsustusõigus ja nii edasi. Väga olulised komponendid, millega peame arvestama. Mis selle kõige täna nii-öelda inimkeskse tehisintellekti vaatest väljakutse, neid põhimõtteid ja ka erinevaid raamistikke on jube palju. Mida me päriselt selles pildis saame teha? Kui me vaatame inimeste ootusi, siis inimesed tahavad, et lahendused oleksid kodanikukesksed, läbipaistvad, kättesaadavad. Inimesed on valmis võtma ise vastutust enda andmetega seonduvalt. Ootus on, et andmeid kasutatakse privaatsus kaitsvalt ja samal ajal, kui me vaatame ka faktiliselt, siis inimesed on valmis ka seda otsustust võtma, et anda enda nõusoleku põhisel andmeid teistele osapooltele kasutada. Ehk siis inimeste valmisolek ise olla protsessis kaasatud on olemas. Sellest lähtuvalt me näeme, et ühelt poolt arendamise kõrval me peame järjest rohkem mõtlema nii-öelda inimkeskse andmekorralduse peale, kus kesksel on inimene, kes saab arvestada ülevaadet, kuidas andmeid töödeldakse, tal on teadmised, et teha õigeid otsuseid, vastutus, et registrites andmed oleksid õiged, ehk kõik seonduv sellega. Ja kui me vaatame tehisintellekti tegevuskava, siis kogu see usaldusväärne tehisintellekt keskendub siis 5 olulisemal plokil, aga ma võib-olla toon välja kõige olulisemad tegevused siin lähiaastateks, et ühelt poolt elementaarse andmekirjaoskuse kasvatamine laiemalt ühiskonnas, siis läbipaistvuse tõstmine, tagamine. Kui me vaatame andmejälgija statistikat, need, kes ei tea, mis asi on andmejälgija, siis pakub läbi eesti.ee riigi portaali ülevaade, kuidas siis riik on andmeid töödelnud. Mis see seis on? Iga kord, kui on andmelekked, andmekaitsega probleemid, mis juhtub? Statistika hüppab sõna otseses mõttes lakke. Ja see kasv on tihtilugu 4-kordne. Kui me võtame eelmise aasta rahvastikuregistri kaasuse, siis see hüppe oli umbes 10-kordne. Me räägime nädalas suurusjärgus 160 000 päringut, mida inimesed teevad. Kuidas siis nende andmeid on töödeldud? Samas, kui me vaatame, kui paljud asutused on täna riigis rakendanud andmejälgijad, siis on jätkuvalt tagasihoidlik. Natukene üle 20 infosüsteemi. Ehk me peame tagama läbipaistvus, inimeste ootus on olemas ja see investeeringute maht tegelikult ei ole suur. Me räägime circa 2 miljonist eurost ja see on veel selline nii-öelda võib-olla ütleme, mitte optimistlik, vaid pigem konservatiivne ja kindlasti ei ole suur summa selle jaoks läbipaistvaks tagatud. Inimkesksus, usaldusväärsus, me peame selle osas pakkuma tuge nii era- kui avalikus sektoris, AI määruse pealetulekuga arvestama, kuidas on võimalik see õigusruum muuta ka piisavalt paindlikuks ja pakkuda tuge asutustele nõuete vastamisel. Ja siis laiendada ka inimeste otsustusõigus, kuidas nende andmeid kasutatakse. Ma omalt poolt tänan. Ma arvan, et siin tänasest uuringu vaatest on palju, mida arutada. Ja järgmiseks kutsuksin Martini lavale, kes siis räägib natukene keeletehnoloogia vaatest, mis riigis kavas on. Aitäh! All yours.
Nii, aitäh! Ott mainis korduvalt, millest ma rääkima hakkan, et natukene ma pean vist küll pettumust valmistama, et ma räägin sellisest ühe ala osast sellest, aga tõepoolest väärib mainimist, et Eesti Keele Instituut on, kui siin oli, ütleme, keeletehnoloogiast ja keeletehnoloogia arendamisest ja teadus-arendustegevusest oli juttu, et siis Eesti Keele Instituut on praegusel hetkel riigi tellitava keeletehnoloogia alase teadus-arendustegevuse tellija ja selle elluviija ja ütleme, et kogu selle praeguse temaatika üheks selliseks võimaldajaks või eelduseks on olnud see, et Eesti riik on tegelikult circa 20 aastat sihipäraselt panustanud keeletehnoloogiasse vahendeid selle väljatöötamisse. Et ilma selleta ilmselt meie väikses kultuuris ja sellises piiratus suurusega süsteemis me ei oleks siin, kus me oleme praegu. Aga täna ma räägiksin, ma arvan, et võib-olla mõnevõrra lühemalt ja kitsendatud teemast ja selleks on siis eesti keel, eesti keelsus suurtes keelemudelites ja niimoodi väga lihtsalt öeldes see üks aspekt, mis vajab ka väga palju tähelepanu kogu selles suurt generatiivse AI ja keelemudelite revolutsioonis, on siis see, et mil viisil need keelemudelid suudavad meie keelt ja kultuuri adekvaatselt välja näidata või selles opereerida, meiega sel teemal suhelda. Ja mida see tähendab? See tähendab seda, et need mudelid on eestikeelse andmestiku peal, ma räägin peamiselt keelest, võib-olla oma asutuse tõttu, aga tegelikult me räägime keelest ja kultuurist laiemalt. Keel on kõige tüüpilisem meedium, mille kaudu lihtsalt see meie suhtlus nende keelemudelitega toimub. Ja see eesmärk on see, et erinevad keelemudelid, diskrimineerimata siin seda, et kas nad on avaliku või erasektori välja töötatud, et need annaksid meile eesti keele ja kultuuri seisukohast asjakohaseid vastuseid. Ma ei ole siia pannud detailnäiteid, aga selline kõige tüüpilisem, võib-olla kõige anekdootlikum näide on see, et kui sa keelemudelit küsid, et kuhu see Arno siis jõudis, kui ta isaga läks kuhu, siis see keelemudel ikka teab, kuhu ta lõpuks jõudis ja mis seal juhtus. Ja selle kõige taustal on eeldus, mis on ilmselt selline eeldus või väärtus, mis on täna selliste teiste meil juba kõlanud väärtuste kõrval samuti väga oluline ja eelduslik. Et kui me oleme rääkinud siin liberaalsest turumajandusest, me oleme rääkinud sellest, et ettevõtjatel peab olema väga lihtne ettevõtlusega tegeleda, siis selline keele olulisus ja jätkusuutlikkus Eesti ühiskonnas on samuti väga oluline. Ja see, et keele digitaalne elujõulisus on võtmekomponent selle keele elujõulisuse tagamisel, see on ka selline eeldus, millest me lähtume. Nüüd, mis siis lõppude lõpuks valesti on? Et kui me teeme ChatGPT lahti ja räägime temaga eesti keeles, siis ju ta midagi meil ütleb. Ja see midagi, mis ta ütleb, seal ei olegi midagi kardinaalselt valesti. Lihtsalt, eks sa siis ühel hetkel hakkad torkima teda küsimustega, mis on natukene spetsiifilisemad, võib-olla sa tahadki teada, kuhu siis Arno jõudis või mõned muud, mis on sellised kultuuri, tüvitekstide teadmine, aga mis on sealt puudu. Ja ta teeb mingisuguse üldise oletuse, et kuhu siis on võimalik jõuda, kui sa isaga koos käekõrval kuskile lähed, et sa võid väga paljudesse kohtadesse jõuda. Aga meie kultuuris, me kõik üldjuhul me teame, mis seal edasi juhtus. Et võib-olla see on selline näide, mida liiga palju resoneerima ei taha lasta, aga neid selliseid sarnaseid näiteid on veel väga palju. Ja kui me küsime, et mis keeles need keelemudelid räägivad, siis vastus ongi, et nendes keeltes, mille andmetel nad on treenitud, kui natukene sügavamale minna, siis kui tegemist on väga lihtsa küsimusega, väga lihtsa vastusega, siis ta teebki seda eesti keeles. Kui see teema vajab mingit põhjalikumat analüüsi ja otsingut, siis see tähendab enamasti masintõlget inglise keelde ja hiljem vastuse tagasi tõlkimist, mis tähendab juba seda, et sa saad põhimõtteliselt sellist masintõlgitud anglo kultuuriruumi, mis tuleb paratamatult kaasa sellise protsessiga. Nüüd lihtsalt illustreeriv näide on siin, et see andmestik, mille mõju me võib-olla kõige rohkem tunneme, mida kasutab siis OpenAI, seal on eesti keel 1% nendest andmetest ja see tähendab seda, et sellise veebi kokkukraapimisega juhuslikult sattus sinna ka eesti keelt sisse. Ja see, et me seal sees oleme üldse, see ongi lihtsalt selline juhus. Mis oleks nagu nii juhtunud, eesti keelt on avalikus veebis olemas, loomulikult ta lõpuks sinna jõuab. Ja miks seda probleemiks pidada, sest tegelikult ju selle ütleme, chat GPT võimekus meiega eesti keeles suhelda on ju tegelikult kaugelt üle keskmise. Ta suudab väga kenasti väga paljusid asju teha, ta on juba integreeritud päris paljudesse teenustesse ja see väikeste lisatuunimistega on justkui kõik väga hea. Aga ilmselt see ohukoht ongi siin selles, et nüüd ütleme, me oleme täna väga mitme nurga alt kuulnud sellest, millise tõusunurga all on see, kui palju generatiivset AI-d integreeritakse kõikvõimalikesse teenustesse tulevikus. Ja teine nähtus, mis samuti on sarnase tõusunurgaga, on ju see, et millise keskkonna kaudu või millise liidese kaudu me suhtleme selle masinaga, erinevate teenustega. Ja see on aina enam loomulik keel, mis tähendab seda, et ka see, milline on selle loomuliku keele kvaliteet, nende vastuste kvaliteet, et me ei kliki enam mingisugustel nuppudel, me kirjutame sisse oma käsu ja me saame väljundi vastu ja ütleme, seda laadi nähtused võimendavad veel vajadust selle järele, et meil oleks väga kvaliteetse eestikeelse andmestiku peal treenitud mudelid. Ja taaskord, vahet pole, kas need on treenitud OpenAI's, on need treenitud mõnes konsortsiumis Euroopas, on see Eestis endast treenitud. Mida me selleks teeme siis? Meil ei ole pääsu sellest, et meil on vaja kokku koguda maksimaalne hulk eestikeelseid andmeid, kvaliteetseid eestikeelseid andmeid. Meil on hetkel olemas üle 3 miljardi sõna. Vahepeal on kommunikatsioonis just natukene olnud, figureerinud ka 4, meil on veidi üle 4 miljoni tokeni. Eesti keeles on lihtsalt eesti keele eripärade tõttu on sõnad rohkem tokeneid. Erialatekstid, ilukirjandus, veebitekstid, väga erinevad materjali on seal. Ja tehisintellekti tegevuskavas oleme siis sõnastanud, nagu Ott juba ütles ka, sellise ambitsioonika eesmärgi jõuda 15 miljardi sõnani. Ja selleks on meil väga palju abi vaja. Me selleks, et seda kokku koguda, on erinevaid viise. Väga laias laastus võib öelda, et on sellised keeleandmed, mille omanikelt me ei küsi, aga me lähme teadus-arendustegevuse eesmärgil, me saame neid kasutada näiteks. Teine ports andmeid on neid, kelle omanikega me saame läbi rääkida ja saame kokkulepet teha ja need andmed selle püha ürituse nimel kasutusele võtta, kokku koguda. Ühel juhul on ees mõned õiguslikud takistused, mis vajavad lahendamist ja mille kallal me juba töötame. Teisel juhul on ees väga palju sellist jalgsi tööd ja diplomaatiat ja selgitamist ja lihtsalt ühiste panustajate kokkukogumist. Ma ütlen väga lühidalt midagi ka selle kohta, et kes on praegu sellise vabatahtliku initsiatiivi võtnud või et kes on see huviliste kamp või avatud teaduse puhul kasutati kunagi sellist coalition of the willing tüüpi märksõna. Meil on mõned asutused, kes on aktiivselt muret tundnud või õigemini ka siis tuleviku pärast rõõmu tundnud et mismoodi siis eestikeelsed suured keelemudelid meile tekitada. Meie seas on nii, ütleme, EKI seda võrgustikku veab, aga meil on väga palju häid koostööpartnereid. See on praegu avalik sektor. Me tahame loomulikult haarata erasektorit ka sisse, me oleme esimesed kohtumised teinud. Ütleme, et siin on sellised väga erinevad profiilid, siin on nii andmete kokkukogumine, need oleme meie Eesti Keele Instituudist, meil on kompetents hinnata, ütleme, keelemudelite sellist, kuidas öelda, keele- ja kultuuritundlikkust, meil on siin kirjandusmuuseum, meil on Rahvusraamatukogu väga suure hulga keeleandmete hoidja, meil on Tallinna Ülikool, Tartu Ülikool, Tallinna Tehnikaülikool kui teadus-arendusasutused, kus on reaalne masinõppe kompetents, kus päriselt Eesti keelemudelite treenimist samuti saab piloteerida. Ja et need erinevad kompetentsid on esindatud ja võib-olla see ongi see koht, kus ütleks kogu selle pingutuse kohta, et see iseloomustab võib-olla väga selgelt seda missioonipõhist lähenemist. Mõned aastad tagasi oli see väga selline moodne märksõna Euroopa ja Eesti teaduspoliitikas, et nende rakendada missioonipõhist lähenemist. Kõige tüüpilisem näide on kuu peale minemise missioon USAs. Ja ma ütleks, et siin on midagi sarnast, et siin see ei ole ei IT-sektori, ei IT-teaduse ühegi, ütleme, siukse üksikvaldkonna pingutus, ega seda ei ole ka võimalik üksinda ette võtta, seda on võimalik ainult koos ära teha. Ja see on ühine missioon. Ja muud moodi see ei olegi võimalik. Ja võib-olla lõpetuseks ütlekski sellise võib-olla tulevikku vaatava tellimuse või lootuse, et me tuleme teie kõigi juurde. Et me tuleme neid keeleandmeid küsima väga erinevatelt osapooltelt, avalikus, erasektoris, riigiasutused, muud avaliku sektori asutused, ütleme, riik on kõige lähemal, riigi nii-öelda avaliku hüve teenindav funktsioon on kõige lihtsamini tajutav, seepärast on kõige lihtsam minna, aga loomulikult mitte ainult. Võita on palju. See, et on olemas suur keelemudel, mis suudab eesti keelt adekvaatselt esitada, et on keelemudel, mida on võimalik teenustesse integreerida, millega arvestatavat majanduslikku mõju tekitada, see on võidu poolel. Mida sinna sisse on vaja panna hästi palju andmeid. Nende andmete puhul võiks eeldada, et meil on võimalik leida selliseid andmeid näiteks erasektorist, mille puhul ei ole sellist ristumist ärihuvidega. Ütleme, IT-sektoris, meediaettevõtetes, kus on väga suured tekstikorpused, millel on loomulikult teenused, mida saab sinna peale ehitada, aga mis, ütleme, selles praeguses temaatikas eestikeelse suure keelemudeli ehitamisel on, ütleme, nende andmete sinna panustamine annab väga positiivse tulemuse vastu ja sealt on meil kõigil võita. Ja see on minu poolt kõik. Aitäh!
Aitäh! Juba jooksid ära. Küsimus, kas kellelgi küsimusi on? Kui ei ole, siis jätkame paneelaruteluga. Et meil täna oleme rääkinud sellest nii-öelda majanduslikust mõjust, mis me oleme hetkel kavandanud tehisintellekti valdkonnas teha, aga nüüd võtaks paneeliks, kutsuks Kristeli, kes saab siis ükshaaval kutsuda ka panelistid. Omalt poolt tänan kõiki, kes siiamaani vaadanud on. Kui on küsimusi, julgelt kirjutage. Loodetavasti saame neile ka siis paneeli raames äkki Kristeli edastada, mida on küsitud. Nii, Kristel. Lava on sinu.
Okay, thank you. So I'll switch to English. Good afternoon, everyone. And so whilst listening to Martin, I also checked. So I asked ChatGPT about Arno and Arno's father. And actually, it knew, it gave the right answer. They went to school, and I thought, okay, what about Tammsaare? So I tried again about love and hard work. It knew again. Sorry if you don't understand, we'll explain later. But so we've had several interesting presentations, and we'll move on now to our panel discussion. And first of all, I'll invite here Minister Riisalo, who's going to represent the government sector and who's going to provide insights into policy making to harness the potential of generative AI. Then I'll invite here Jarla Flynn, yes, from Google, who is the Director of Government Affairs, and he's going to offer us a view from the front lines of generative AI development and application. Then I'll have Elli Valla, who's a PhD student from TalTech, representing the academic and research sector, and Juhan-Madis Pukk, who's also here, and he's representing the Estonian business community. So will you all come here and take a seat? So to kick off our conversation, I'd like to ask each of you to briefly share your personal thoughts and feelings about the study. And maybe we could start again with the minister. So which finding from the study personally surprised you the most? And how does it influence your priorities in shaping Estonia's economic policy?
Yes, I think the thing is that that if you ask for the emotional reaction, then the emotional reactions are usually formed not by a single fact, but by a data set, the information you have processed in let's say recent history or educational background. And I already used this comparison of my overall emotions, which, these pieces of information, of course, added additional layer today. I used it in our parliament in Riigikogu. I was actually talking today, I had a chance to talk how the Minister of Economic Affairs is moving towards the Estonian national development agenda, which is called 2035, what is the state of play and how we see what is important there. And then I use this sort of emotion that, especially what concerns the developments in the tech sector, but it influences all the layers of the life, and I don't think it is only my sort of emotion. It's kind of a shared emotion that you understand that actually the tsunami is coming, and you have this feeling that the water already is sort of ebbing away. And then there are people who sort of go into this seabed they haven't seen this far and maybe start to pick them beautiful shells there. There are some people who are already sort of switch off to start to run from some to a certain direction. But my personal feeling is that I also have this feeling that tsunami is coming. And now the main question is that we are standing on the shore. And the question is that, do we have the surfboard ready? Because if you can surf and you have the surfboard, you can use this coming tsunami as a challenge. You jump into it and it can accelerate you to the heights you can't even imagine, or get to the big ride. And in this sense, I'm also confident on these conversations today, and we have this chance to be ready and to have this surfboard in our hands. But what is the success rate, possibility of the success rate? I have really mixed emotions. But this is why I think that we need the unity of efforts in this context. Minister of Economic and Affairs, we are an important player in this. I don't hesitate or don't want to avoid the responsibility. but we can do it all together. And now if we get more concrete, I think most sort of thought-provoking is as a Minister of Economy, is this chart here, that there is a potential for 8% growth. But if we don't have the surfboard, it could be 2 or even less. And I think this is, and I'm convinced, or I believe, convinced is not the right word, that it is doable. But my honest reflection of the current situation is that we have a lot of work to do to convince also other, government members, other ministries, or a society in general, that this is doable and worth taking the risk. And I see here in the room, if I look from the political side, at least representatives of 2 political parties, me being one, and there are some others. So I think we actually need to form some sort of task force of the people or the coalition of willing who want to convince in their party lines also that what challenges we have and what possibilities to have to be taken seriously, and we have to create this unity of efforts.
Thank you. Johan, what are your, like when you had a look at the study, what kind of feelings did you get?
Mixed emotions as well. I think the biggest thing to think is that this is potential, and how to make that potential a prognosis. This is the biggest challenge, and this is just what Mr. Minister just described about who has the best surfboard. We are living in a world that our competitors are not in Estonia, they're outside of Estonia. Of course, the question is that what kind of surfboards our competitors do have and how they can handle that. So it will be a race, but at the same time, I did read the threats part as well. Just to be honest, I'm working daily with different algorithms, AI solutions, and I don't have a clue what will come tomorrow. What will come out of the New York Times versus OpenAI stuff, etc., etc. So what will be the solution of tomorrow? Will every company in Estonia have their own LLM model that they use, or will we have the general models that everybody uses, the privacy, etc.? All the questions are there, and we don't have the answers. Nobody does. They will come with time. So if we would get the answers first, then we would have the competitive advantage. But it will be hard to get there.
Ellie, so your thoughts and
I did have a small point of concern when I saw that our adoption rate is unfortunately below average in the EU. It was surprising considering our digital infrastructure. However, it kind of mirrors for me a broader narrative that is in technology sector, that we perceive US, not perceive, but we know that US is leading innovation, and EU, including Estonia, is more like focused on regulations maybe, and this is a concern of mine. And the study highlighted a bit that Estonia has a great potential in reaching that curve, so I'm also very optimistic. I'm a part of this research and development section, which was lagging a bit. I do have my hypothesis what could influence my work. I work with health-related data. We study Parkinson's disease as a handwriting and apply machine learning to diagnose the disease earlier or make it more accessible, augment the doctors. So there's a lot of regulation considering data acquisition, which is in place in the right. It's in the right place. However, it's very hard to obtain the amount of data that these powerful deep learning algorithms need. So some concerns, and but I'm overall optimistic in our potential.
Thank you. And Irla, you have probably seen the results of different countries. So how can you comment that, and what were some of the things you noticed about Estonia that surprised you?
Yeah, well, the first thing, or the main thing I took out is that AI and hot air and debates and concerns, and AI has unleashed a tsunami of all that. But there's also a reality going on, which is there have been investments and serious work on R&D and AI for many years, and that's coming through more strongly, and that's going to continue to come through. So that in Google, that's what we're focused on, and we're obviously very much in the optimist camp when it comes to AI, but we're also aware of and realistic about the risks, because these are very powerful technologies. So we try to balance, on the one hand, a bold approach and innovation, on the other hand, being responsible with the approach we take. But I think the thinking behind the study and how we got talking to Martin was that we could see that there was an increasing amount of good research coming through internationally, an increasing quantity of good case studies and academic papers coming through, and we thought maybe there's an opportunity here to have a kind of some strong analysis and facts and data contributed to the debate, and that's the work that Implement have done. I mean, in terms of specifics, the potential that over 60% of workers in Estonia could have their productivity improved by one technology is really extraordinary. And it's one of the key challenges we face all across Europe is our competitiveness. And AI won't solve all those problems, but it does hold a very significant opportunity across huge numbers of jobs, across huge numbers of sectors, and that's the key thing. And then I suppose the second specific finding was that Estonia is very, very strong in some areas, number one in the world in e-government, as is very widely acknowledged, really strong R&D and tech ecosystem, but small businesses are behind the EU average, and that seems like an area that collectively we really need to focus on.
Thank you. So I guess definitely one of the things everyone who's from Estonia here in this room would agree is that we don't have that many people, so we have to innovate, we have to come up with new things, but often you see, like when you have foreign delegations, you have 20 people there and they say, I do this, I do that, and then you always say, well, I do all of those things because we don't have enough people. So what are the next steps for us, Mr. Minister? What should we do to make sure we get to this 8%?
Yes, just to comment on the surfing analog, which seems to resonate well. So we have this data here that actually there are 9 surfboards in the making, and if I look at the list, all these 9 countries here have enough coastline to practice it, but strangely there is Luxembourg. I don't know if they have a chance to surf there, but they have their own strengths. But yeah, what we can do next? No, a lot of things, and this has been the priority for the minister in this year. To set, I'm a orienteer myself, so I often use also this analog that to reach somewhere, on purpose, with the minimum effort, minimum time, you need a good map, and the fresher the map is, the better. The map from 2016 is not worth, does not have the detailness that the map from 2024, and now we have these maps. We have in the digital sphere with a roof document describing what I think when we talk about the personalized state, and we also have the subplans there. Today the focus is on AI and data, and we have a roadmap there. And there are some others in the final stages. Of course, cybersecurity, and absolutely instrumental component in all this. So we are working. I think we have good maps ready, but now is just again I can't get around this that we have to create this unity of efforts, because not naming names, but if I write an article that we need to build a new iteration of e-government, then you get an article that says that what are you speaking about? The e-Estonia is ready, digital Estonia is ready. We don't need to invest there anymore. And somehow we have to get into the center of this dispute the understanding that we actually have huge potential in the public sector that we already understand, but we also have a huge potential in the advancing the economy. And of course, thank you again for this study. I think it's step by step we make it more believable. And as it is in Three Musketeers, if you believe, it is. If you don't, it's not.
Thank you. Johan, how do you see things from the businesses side? Because one of the things, again, is that Estonia is so small, like 98% of our companies are one man and one dog, and that's it. So how can they make sure they actually use AI and again, make the best of it? Any ideas, and how can the government help?
I can now talk for at least 4 hours. Thank you for your time.
You have a dog?
And now the dog died.
Sorry.
So only a man. I would say the roadmap that we have come so far is the digitalization is like Googling. We have a Google here. So we have a new era of Googling with Gemini now, and it's just the beginning. So as described before, when our Estonian digitalization started, we worked together. The private and public parties came together and joined their forces, and something good came out of that. And I think it's about time to do that again, to start working together more actively against let's say technology, or how we can use that technology together. It all starts from education, then from the public sector, just getting the understanding to the people that how they can use it, etc., etc. I know people that don't know how to Google today, and they are not my grandparents, but really to Google. It's kind of a science to get real answers today. Sorry for that, but now we have a new era of Googling, and it's totally different. Now we have to restart and relearn how to several things. That you have a screwdriver, but you have a lot of things to put there, and different screws, let's say, that you have to deal with. So this will be the new biggest question on how to use the certain things in right places, and how to benefit from that, and then starting from teaching, then using, developing, then using and redeveloping, etc., etc. The cycle has to combine, and the parties have to combine together and do the cycle together. Then we'll be much stronger than the 9 or 8 competitors that we have today, and there will be more for sure.
Maybe if I may comment a little bit to get at my thoughts, but if you look at the economic side and what you can do and what you can't, then the spectrum actually is huge. And then from one side, lucky for us, Estonia has a number of unicorns and companies that we have the whole ecosystem, and it has benefited our economy and our approach to the world, big time. And if you look at this end of the spectrum, so what government can do is, as we have in general more understanding of this new world, we can try to be a partner with our or a voice of reason in the context of EU. I'm sad to say that we just actually lost one big battle recently. That was the final part of discussions about the platform workers directive, and one of the main regulations that kind of comes out of this regulation is that, in a very simplified way, says that we want to give the member states the right to actually enforce the human oversight of the algorithm decisions. And we were against it because the whole business model is built around algorithms making decisions, and the whole world we are talking about is actually right now, this 8% of growth is because we have built a machine that actually can think as we can, and we can use it in safe environments as a tool that helps to make intelligent decisions. Actually, we have integrated a completely new interface between the man and the machine. And now we have to, especially in the EU context, we have this constant worry that we don't have this, actually the new unicorns, that they are somewhere from, or US or China or whatever place in the world, but not from the EU. And then meantime, we are so eager to regulate it before we actually know what is reasonable to regulate. So we try to be a voice of reason there, hopefully to continue this. And then from this, girl and the cat companies, I think this is also, other end of the spectrum. And it actually, this, interface between the man and the machine, or woman and the machine, can actually create huge possibilities also for these micro companies. And what we can do there, Ott mentioned it, we are in the process of sort of putting together the idea how to create, AI competence center in Estonia. And when we do this, of course, we have to keep in mind not only the public sector, but also this part of the private sector, so that we can really, jump into this wave.
Thank you. So probably regulations was one of the topics that resonated with you as well, Ellie.
I'm not a specialist to talk about the regulation side. I know how does it affect my work, for example. So as a researcher, I try to innovate. I can publish only something that wasn't published before, right? I have to create new things. And I just give an example. The regulation was mentioned. We study, for example, cerebral palsy patients' gait. Yes, and we went to Eessalu and said, okay, we are skilled machine learning scientists and want to help you. So let us help you. So what do you need? Okay, you have this gait lab and everything, and you put markers on children, patients, and analyze their gait. We can help you there. So instead of markers, there's a lot of research done on markerless-based analysis. We can use machine learning, we can use computer vision, we can help you with that. And also we can help you with analysis part, because it takes a lot of time to personally analyze every patient and what is the outcome. However, we couldn't do that. We received 10 videos in a span of a couple of months, maybe, because of the regulations and additional paperwork. And so my problem with R&D in my case is that where to get the amount of data that is needed to innovate in a realm of AI and, in my sense, healthcare. But the question was what the additional steps or what?
So how in your field, where do you think? What are the next steps in your field? How can the government help? What should we do?
Well, in TalTech, I already see the awareness spreading about the impact of AI. And as I understood, there's not about the capital per se, but the lack of awareness, the lack of specialists, I believe, is one of the problems. So I work at Department of Software Science, and I teach IT students machine learning and deep learning. And I already feel the interest from other faculties, like, okay, can you teach machine learning for our medical physicists? And of course. So I can feel the awareness is spreading. And in TalTech, we also are constructing the AI competency center. So the goals are quite similar: to spread awareness, to teach, to increase the adoption rate of the specialists in terms of AI. In general term, may I add, I feel that our education that we obtained 20 years ago, for example, is not maybe relevant anymore 20 years in the future. So we have to incorporate skills of unlearning things, or relearning, as you mentioned, relearn how to Google. And so these kind of skills are maybe taken for granted, that I should forget what I studied in school and learn some new educations. For example, I'm from a physics background, and I wanted to pursue machine learning in PhD studies, and I had to well, physics actually helps in the machine learning because there's a lot of math, but still you have to like forget, okay, I'm not a physicist anymore. I want to learn something new. And I think that this kind of mindset is also necessary for adaptation.
Thank you. And Irla, how do you see the role of Estonia on the global stage, and what steps should be taken now to secure this vision?
I think two main things. The first thing is to continue to lead the way and be a front runner. And secondly, you're totally right that Estonia has a very important role, as the minister says, to be a voice of reason at EU level. I think I'd agree with what everyone else said about the need for explaining, promotion, ultimately learning across all stakeholders and across society, because as you both said, this is new technology and people need to get used to it. Now, the good thing about AI and particularly generative AI in the study is that it's built to be easy to use. You don't need to be very technically literate, so people can interact via voice or images or text. So these tools are more flexible, but still people need to take that step. So one of the things that we're very happy to be doing is kicking off a new training program now under the Grow with Google program, which we've had here for several years. And this phase is going to focus on AI, and it's intended to be really simple for people in small businesses, and it's really the ABC of AI. And so it's explaining what are the kind of key terms and concepts, and then get practical about how you could use AI in your business. So that's kicking off now, and it'll be delivered in Estonian by Estonian experts here. We're very happy to support it. So hopefully that will make a positive contribution. At the EU level, yes, there's important work there, because the EU is in the business of setting the rules of the road for all of us. And we have a new AI Act in the EU. And obviously that's finalized, but there's a very significant body of work to do to implement that. And that could be implemented in a complex, confusing, and difficult way, or the stakeholders together could lean towards a more simple, consistent, and transparent approach. And hopefully that's where it will land, because good regulation can help underpin trust, which can be important. But there are other scenarios that it's best to avoid. So we think that Estonia has an important role to continue to play there, to be that voice of reason. And Estonia packs quite a punch in international conversations. The cliche is it punches above its weight, but that's what we see all the time. So there is an opportunity there. And the other thing, of course, that's happening right now is the next EU mandate is being developed and decided in the coming months. And really there's a big question about what does Europe want from digital technologies like AI for the next 5 to 10 years. And we think that Europe should see digital technologies as primarily an opportunity to boost competitiveness for people and companies. And that would be fundamental, essentially, to protect the European way of life that we've all benefited from and gotten used to, but also tackling key areas like improving healthcare, which I know is your own area of research, but also things like tackling climate change. So we really need to grab this opportunity at the European level, as well as continue the great work in Estonia about leading by example and showing other countries how things can be done.
Okay. Would any one of you like to add to any of the?
Recently, that Singapore has a great example of the relearning and unlearning initiatives. They allocated resources and created a budget for people over 40 years old to pursue a new and higher education. So I think it's a very good initiative, because we do the change is so rapid that probably 20 years ago the art educations are not relevant anymore. So that's something.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to add is that just we understand that we are looking for the competitive advantage here. So if we have the technology like Google, everybody has the Google for free, so that we don't have a competitive advantage there. If a person knows how to Google better than others, it might be not give the 8% advantage. But if we would use it and develop it further, even take a part of it and develop it further and use it in our existing business model or add on to that, then it works. So the question is that how to find those places and things that we just don't everybody use the widespread technology that is free there, but the ideas behind that, how to use it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is back, I suppose, to Martin and the research and the analysis of that. But I think broadly, yes, the opportunity is there, and there is, you know, in the context of adoption of any new technology, there's just the general speed of adoption. And why isn't Estonia starting from a better place, generally compared to other countries? And you know, an advantage that smaller countries have is they can move more quickly. You have a smaller government that makes it more agile, and it can work more quickly. So both within the public sector in terms of developing here, improved public services in and with the government for the citizens, that's a key opportunity. And then more widely across the business community. So I think the opportunities are there, and we look forward to seeing the new AI action plan from the government, which I understand will sort of focus in on key areas for action. I think that's going to be a very important guide or map, as the Minister said, to everybody to focus on where the biggest opportunities and barriers are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so everyone seems to agree. So I guess my questions are quite boring. So maybe we should give the floor to the audience. Do you have any questions here?
I just wanted to comment that I feel absolutely on board in all these contexts. You know, even sitting here, you know, the thoughts are running around in my brain, and I had this. I think in one of the presentations there was a picture of a typewriter and Mac. And then I had this memory that actually, what a lucky man I have. I remember the typewriter. I think it was taken and somehow a little bit blurred, the image, but it's from the famous Royal typewriter, which is a classical, very famous design. My grandfather had it. He was a journalist. So I started to experiment with this machine, and I have, you know, proof in black and white photography when I was 5 years old. And then, you know, the time goes on, and then in 1987 I end up in the Institute of Chemistry of Estonian Academy of Science in the prostaglandin chemistry laboratory. And I enter my room, and there is a Mac workstation. And so it was, I have memories from there, you know, all the competitions of the first computer games and so on. And it already seems like a huge progress for one lifetime. And now we are sitting here and actually discussing how the big language models are actually this new machines that smart people have created that is actually capable of thinking. It thinks a little bit different than a human being, but it thinks. I have tested, and I believe in this. So it seems like you know, I feel really excited, and I hope if we play it right, it will, you know, all this economic growth. It has, you know, it's not something that is an, you know, target in itself. For me, the ministry, it's, you know, target for itself, but the human beings, for the societies, it's a possibility to elevate another huge number of people out of the, you know, grim living conditions. So we can really see how if we fantasize a little bit more, how technology makes a next major leap in our lifetime, and maybe next 10 years, maybe next 15 years. So it is all sort of, you can grasp this time horizon, and so I encourage everybody to jump into this, and I'm certainly going to do it either in this position or some other, but and we hope that the other guys are not blowing the world up meantime. So we still have to be with our thoughts, with our Ukrainian brothers every moment.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to add is that Estonian competitive advantage could be in data, that the open data we could have, and using the gathered data in different fields. We have done that. We have structured data, and that can be the competitive advantage to when we put the public and private sector together. I know that we are already doing that, but we can do much more with that.
True. Ott has a question.
Just to comment what Johan just mentioned, from the open data, it's one clear example that we can copy also on the AI part. We took open data as a kind of a strategic priority when I joined the government, and today we are no longer lagging behind. We're one of the front runners in Europe and globally. So I think this is a key aspect. But now to the question part. So we carried out a survey among Estonians. 77% of Estonians are really supportive of automating even their work-related tasks. So that's positive. People are, in general, they are looking forward of using AI amongst their work to augment what they're doing. However, if we go from the kind of a routine automation towards decision-making, it is more complicating. Decision-making, even support in decision-making, roughly one of the half is against it or negatively. And if we dive deeper into, then women and kind of less educated are even more kind of against utilization of AI. So what should we do about it? Just a general question. There is kind of differences. Automation good, decision-making whereby we are actually utilizing AI to its full potential. There is not that much potential.
Yeah, I think it's not surprising that people would have those concerns. We see them all around the world, and you know, I think that this is where we need to go from kind of potential ideas of AI, whatever that is anyway, to actually showing people via practical uses that might make more sense to them. So I think there's a broad job to do in terms of, you know, for the people who think there is positive potential to work together to try and show, don't tell, as it were. The second thing is, I think we have to be very careful to be transparent in when AI is playing a role. And that becomes even more important when it's something that people might regard as sensitive. Now, this is where the EU regulations can help, because one of the things they focus on a lot is transparency, and hopefully a combination of communicating simply and clearly with people within a broader regulatory framework can help. So transparency is very important. And then I would imagine that what's going to happen is the uses of AI, and where people would accept that AI is playing a role, will probably evolve over time. Hopefully it will. We're at a fairly early stage, but I suspect that the picture in 5 years will be different from the picture in 10 years and the picture in 20 years. So I think the key thing is to get started and to build up. And I think over time, if we can show people that, look, these systems are taking away some of the drudgery, they're taking away some of the boring tasks, they're helping everybody free up time, then AI can essentially earn and keep people's trust. I think that's it's very important, and it is a key question.
If I may comment on the trust issues, then and if we take, we are dealing with it in Estonia, you know, not on daily basis, but we follow this because this beauty of the you know, digital government or good e-services only work well if there is a penetration, you know. And for penetration you need people's trust, and this is monitored by our, you know, people. We work together with the University of Tartu on these issues to understand that how it stands and what are the issues there. Of course, we follow what is going on in OECD. Recently, a report came out there that concerns, you know, the trust to democratic governments in general. And then when you and it's a, you know, comprehensive study almost globally, then when they asked that what makes you trust your government, and there are a number of questions like, for example, pretty relevant question, not so far away in the history, the capacity to tackle pandemics. and it's important, of course. But if you look, what is most important is the just good public services. And if the service is good and you don't fuck up there in some big way, if I may use this word, sorry, maybe not, then you have the trust of the people. And this is, I think, what is one of the key building blocks of Estonia also. We have maintained the trust, and we have been open when we have the problems. The last bigger problem, we have problems in daily basis, and this is another story, because and more, the private sector is targeted in Estonia, not the public one, because in public sector we are pretty good in this. Then the trust we had in 2017, the issue with our ID card, basis of our digital identity. Chip and the new software that was designed for the chip didn't go together very well. It's easy description of the problem. And we ended up with a need to either exchange the card or exchange the software on 700,000 cards. Almost, half of the population. And then, technical people started to work on this, but for me, being part of the situation room, the main question was at how the general public will react. And the reaction came quite quickly. People said that, just fix it. You could imagine in some other countries, in not so far away from us, people would have said that, just close it down, because we said from the very beginning it's not trustworthy, it's not working. But in Estonian case, it was, I think, quite a natural reaction, because we already understand how much good, how much more convenient our life is. Not speaking about, the cost savings, and we have this pretty adequate calculation that if you look at least in the hours that we gain from the e-government, it's approximately 2% of our GDP, which is exactly the amount that we have spent for years to our country's defense. But this, this is what, if we look, backwards, so I'm optimistic that the Estonian people would come with these new developments. But now is the question not to, let them down in the trust issues. And I think the solution there is to sort of go step by step. One good example is what we use in our unemployment fund. Is we have, let's say AI, or in Estonian context, this project is called Kratt, that what has been, leading for some years. And they have built a tool for the consultants who work there on daily basis with the people who lose job. And we have 100,000 cases yearly. And then if you start to think that what is the amount of data this one consultant has to handle, this one he has, let's say, 100 clients. So all these clients have their personal CVs. Then we have, the opportunities in the labor market, the openings. Then we have about 80 million worth on yearly basis courses available for educating. And if you also add into this mix, the potential trends in the job market, and then, the capacity to analyze this data and use AI on this, you already understand what a powerful tool you can build. And we have started with this. So all the consultants can use, the aid, and now it is not giving, exact, career recommendations, but it already pretty well, predicts based on the data it has, what clients are problematic, what sectors are problematic, and they can analyze on basis of this one single person what is the likeliness of getting a job in one or another sector. And already these predictions are almost 100% correct. And now we are which actually enables these people to work more effectively, sort of to distribute the work so that they understand that who are the clients with whom you have to, spend maybe half an hour, and who are the ones you have to spend, tens of hours. So it enables to be more effective in sort of like a dashboard manner to handle your work. But now what we are taking it forward is together with a data scientist from Tartu University, as these people, these consultants in these institutions, they already trust the machine, and they are ready to go to the next level. And so together with Tartu University scientists, we're trying to build then sort of the tool in a full capacity, and then start to experiment with this sort of like not in a full scale, but with certain people who are sort of more capable of entering into this case study or experiment, and this is how we build the trust there.
So it seems that we are running out of time. So to
One thing to add to your question, very simply saying, if the winter comes, send out the cars, and before the morning comes, say the snow is cleaned, and say that AI made the decision to send out the cars, and everybody will believe in AI.
Let's do it.
good, good. Yeah. So it seems like we have the maps, we have the surfboards, so all the dogs and cats and men and women get on the surfboards and let's go. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So if anyone is interested in keeping in the communication what is going on, I would recommend joining Data and AI Network, andmed.mkm.ee. So we are already in a few weeks' time sharing what we are doing in the government, introducing various projects as well. So thank you for all the panelists. Thank you, Kristel. And great afternoon, everyone. Thank you.